Wasn't very excruciatingly long. Hey everybody, Gray Stahlman here. Welcome to the One City Studios. We'll call it that anyway. It's Friday. Doctors in Live with TOA is here online, ready to go. I have a new guest with me. This is Anita Slaughter. We're going to be talking in just a second. But thank you for being here. As always, we appreciate our long-term viewers and our new viewers. Hopefully these episodes are interesting to you, maybe give you a little bit of input, little insight, little information, little entertainment, I don't know, with regard to musculoskeletal care, general health, and fitness. So if you have anything you need with regard to the musculoskeletal system, go to TOA.com. We can help you improve your life, improve your function, and improve your general well-being, whether that's non-surgical or surgical treatment of musculoskeletal problems. So TOA.com, learn about us, learn about the doctors, learn about the practice, learn about where we are, what we have to offer. And Anita here is one of those people that's kind of a new add in my career to our practice's offerings, and I'm excited to talk a little bit about, we're going to talk today a little bit about nutrition and fitness, some misconceptions and whatnot. But anyway, as always, disclaimer here, while I'm an orthopedic surgeon, fellowship trained orthopedic surgeon, I'm not your orthopedic surgeon. So please don't consider this information as gospel, as medical advice. Please consider it only as educational and a little entertainment fodder for your day anyway. So we're in our second 50 of episodes. Unbelievable. We celebrated our 50th episode a couple of Fridays ago, and thanks for supporting us. Anyway, if you have any ideas, any comments, any questions, anything you'd like to see, comment below, and we'll get back to you. Anyway, so without further ado, Anita Slaughter, Gray Stahlman. Anita, tell us a little bit about yourself. Thanks for being here. And we'll talk about what we want to talk about.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. I've been doing personal training for about 22 years and teaching group fitness as well. My degree was in occupational therapy, and I started training on the side from college on, and then I eventually just transitioned over full time, and I've loved every minute of it. So we have a team of about 6 personal trainers on Music Row. That's our primary studio, and then we have a corporate partnership with TOA at the sports performance centers in both Lebanon and Franklin. And it's been fun to be a part of that development of seeing the first of its kind injury clinic and physical therapy department and sports performance center all under one roof. So
yeah, so you work with Les.
Yes.
In the sports performance center. We've been down to the sports performance center. We had a visit with Les. We looked around the facility there. It's pretty cool. And this is really kind of a fairly unique service that
Sure.
it's certainly unique for us. It's relatively new for TOA, but it's a service to really kind of add to the mix as far as both the competitive athlete as well as the everyday person who just wants to stay healthy and active, right?
Right. And I think if there's anything we can take away from the previous year and a half, it's putting more attention into our health, and the best prescriptions we can offer from that is exercise and nutrition. So
no doubt.
Yeah.
You can't fight Father Time, so you
That's
got to
right.
battle other ways, right?
Exactly.
Right. Well, so what do we want to talk about today?
So we're going to talk about just some different myths and truths and pitfalls in nutrition and training. I'm sure I could have a panel of 20 trainers here, and we'd all have an endless amount of those topics. But I think the first one we'll start with is it takes too much time. And that one really applies to nutrition and fitness, and we really combat it the same way, and that's by planning ahead. So what that looks like with nutrition is I'll usually have clients sit down the night before. So tonight you'll sit down and you're going to plan out all your meals for tomorrow, like what time you're going to have your meals, making sure you get a good protein dense meal after your workout. If you're going to have any of your meals at a restaurant, you can go ahead and take a look at the menu ahead of time and decide what you're going to have, so once you get there you make smart choices. And that serves several purposes. First, it makes sure we get a good balanced nutrition, so are we getting enough good quality protein? Are we getting enough fruits? Are we getting enough vegetables? and are we getting a variety of those fruits and vegetables? And I think we're fortunate enough in Nashville that we have all these home delivery services that will deliver very balanced, prepackaged meals to your door. And they can cater and personally be tailored towards you. So if you have a gluten-free diet or a vegan diet, or you're looking for weight gain, they have options for that, or maintenance and weight loss. So those are great things. It also helps with the timing. Once you plan out your timing of your meals, you don't go too long, because that can be a major pitfall where you make poor food selection choices. And you can also, once you sit down for a meal, if you're so ravenous, you'll have a tendency to eat way too rapidly and overeat. And then the third thing it does, it really takes away the emotional connection and attachment you have to food, and you end up spending a lot less time and energy focusing on food. Some people tell me, I just don't have time to plan ahead like that. I don't have time to plan my meals. But really, the first time you do it, it takes, maybe 15 minutes to go, what food do I have? What's my schedule tomorrow? When am I going to be eating? And where am I going to be eating? But then once you get in the habit, it takes just minutes. And I like to tell people to look at it like a map that's got your route planned. So the next day, you've got your steps, and you're just following those steps. And it's the same thing with the food. When you wake up the next morning, you've already got it planned out. You're not thinking about it, focusing on it, and making emotional choices based on the state you're in that day.
Well, that certainly makes sense too, because it also helps you plan for your shopping.
Absolutely.
So you get into that mindset of think ahead. Oh, I'm going to do this. It may not be specifically what meal or what time, but this week I'm going to do this. And I've always said, you mentioned it with regard to training as well. My philosophy in my practice, spine care, has always been, whenever I hear I don't have time to exercise, I call that an excuse.
Right.
Because I think that exercise and nutrition are priorities. We need to make them priorities. And the easiest way to do that is essentially make a date with yourself.
Correct.
I mean, you're going to go to date night with friends or relatives. You're going to go to kids' day out, play date, whatever. You make a date with that. Well, what's more important than your own health?
Right.
Make a date with yourself first. And it really doesn't take long to exercise or plan and eat well once you kind of get in the mindset of
Correct.
think ahead. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's when I ask my clients to do it, I basically do what I do for myself is I sit down on Sunday evening, and as I'm scheduling all my client appointments, meetings, and if I have any doctor's appointments, I write in my calendar, I find spots or make spots for my workouts, and I write it on my calendar, and I even go so far to put what type of workout, if it's a spin workout or what muscle groups I'm working that day. And I just think that makes it have a little more value, like as if it were an important meeting or a doctor's appointment, and it helps with the accountability factor a little bit. I think the biggest mistake people make is feeling like they have to have an hour in the gym to really make a difference. And yeah, that'd be great if we had that, every day, but
Right.
we don't. And, for instance, if I block off a 45-minute time in my schedule and, one of the trainers come in and needs me for something, or I get a call that I need to address, and I look up and now I have 20 minutes left. Well, what I'll do with that, say today was my leg day, is I'll come up with 8 to 10 different exercises, do 12 to 15 reps, bust through it, have a short break for a drink, and then do a water drink, and then do it again, and just keep repeating until my 20 minutes are up. And
Right.
if you think you can't get a good workout like that, just try that high intensity training, and you'll realize how spent you'll be after, and you obviously burnt more calories doing that than doing nothing. So,
Right,
yeah.
exactly. And again, you don't need a gym, you don't need a membership to do any of that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's really, there's so much you can do on your own. You don't have to be a professional chef to get the nutritional balance that you really need. So
Correct.
I think that's a great point. That's
Yeah.
a great point. Okay, so what else on the nutrition
So,
front?
I think another big one, which is becoming less prevalent, thankfully, is that personal training is just a luxury expense for the rich and famous. It's not for us everyday folks. So, and I do think that's getting less prevalent. I think people are seeing the value of being more of a preventive maintenance, so that their exercise is more effective and they're possibly reducing medical costs later. And everyone doesn't have. It is an investment. We all don't have 2, 3, 4, 5 times a week to see a trainer. And that's a pretty hefty budget that can allow that. So there are options to go once a week, once every other week. We have a lot of people who have Peloton now and they use the app, but they'll come in, once a month and have us check their form, or they'll come in once a month and have us write up a program. They're motivated enough to follow it on their own, and then we'll just come in and refresh and give them new ideas. And so they have options to share sessions with another workout partner, and that makes it more financially feasible as well. So, there are many different ways you can balance it based on what your budget allows, your schedule flexibility, but you tell us what your issues are and we can break through those barriers and set up a program that'll work for you. So awesome. And that's something that we and we'll get the contact information and stuff put up so that people can get a hold of you directly, all the various things with regard to that. So awesome. Yeah.
So what's next? What else?
I think the next one probably for me is when someone comes up that they have this is the greatest diet coming across the bend right now. This is the one that works for everyone. And truthfully, first of all, I don't like the way a diet indicates that it's something that you're going to do for a short period of time and then you're going to transition back into regular eating, or at least close to what you were eating before. And there's not a one-size-fit-all approach because we all have different genetic makeups. We have different active lifestyles, different non-active lifestyles, possible food allergies. So it really does have to be tailored to each individual. The way I like to approach people changing their eating habits, it's more of a behavioral method. And so what I do is I take 1 to 2 changes in their typical eating plan, whether it be adding something, deleting something, or just altering the way they add that into their meal plan. And they'll take those 2 changes and they'll put those into practice for a few weeks. And then once they make them habit, then we'll address a few more. So they adopt those behaviors, they become habitual, and they're good with that, and it doesn't seem overwhelming, so they'll add on a few more. And then you just continue that process, and I think that method just makes it a lot easier for the client to handle. It makes them feel more successful, and those lifestyle changes have a lot more lasting results.
Well, I think that makes tons of sense. I mean, it's the same thing with exercise. It's hard to do all or nothing. It's hard to go from 0 to 100.
Sure.
Baby steps are much more palatable, tolerable, and then they'll become, as you say, habit. And that's where so many... Now, I think it's important to understand that we're talking nutrition for daily life. Now, there's nutrition techniques for weight loss and weight management, but we're not talking diet for weight loss specifically. We're talking more lifestyle, right?
Right, but that's in my opinion, it's all the same.
Sure.
Because whatever your ultimate goal is, you have to make those changes. And to throw someone a complete overhaul of their diet or their exercise program can sometimes just make them feel like this is non-palatable.
It's
like
over.
You say,
no,
I can't
right.
do it. It's over before it starts.
Yeah.
And so the same with exercise. When I have someone come in and they'll say, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to walk 2 miles every day starting next week. And I'm like, let's break that down a little bit. We need to make our goals achievable and something you're going to stick to, because if you make a goal so far reaching that you're not going to stick to it, then you're going to be faced with that failure every time you start again. So
you finished it before you started
right.
it, essentially.
Right.
Yeah. So you got on the topic of newest, latest diet. So give me some tips, give me some impressions about the various kind of, I'll use my bunny air quotes, fad diets that have been popular recently. So I'll name a few, kind of give me your idea about them. Atkins, keto, paleo, what are some of the others that are?
The
Mediterranean, yeah.
Whole30.
Yeah. So of those, 4 of them are essentially very similar in
Right.
a lot of aspects.
Right.
And that's what's really important, but they have names to them.
Right.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about kind of what makes a good kind of overall diet idea or plan.
For me, I don't like the idea of eliminating any food group that has nutritional value. So I think is it Atkins that you don't have maybe fruits? I can't remember.
Yeah, Atkins is almost no carbohydrates. So
right.
it's fruits and sweet things that are pastas, things like that. It's
Right.
all non-carb carbs.
And some of the carbs, like, I don't have a problem with. I still think all you're eating should be 80% clean and 20%. I don't think you should deprive yourself. But when we're talking about carbs, there are obviously carbs that are better than others. And if it doesn't have nutritional values, what I call empty calories, it's okay to go ahead and do away with those and just have them on occasion. So I don't have a problem with that, but I think you still get nutritional value from any fruits and any vegetables, and having that variety is important. I've had clients tell me that fruit are empty calories, and I'm like, no, fruit juice is empty calories, but you're still getting fiber and other nutrients from fruit. And then I'll have, clients come up and say, well, I've heard that corn and carrots are like the highest carbohydrate vegetables, so we should probably leave those out. And I'm like, I can assure you that no one is unhealthy or overweight because they're eating too much corn and carrots. So that's not the issue, and let's not overthink it. I like to keep it a little bit more basic and simple.
Well, I love to cook, and so my wife and I love to cook, and so one of the things that we've really kind of grabbed a hold of over the years is fresh is best. Anything that's natural can't be bad for you. Moderation in all things. And that includes everything from, like you say, fruit juices. Yeah, it's fruit, but it's really just the sugary side of fruit, and there's not a whole lot of added benefit to it other than the calories. Whereas, something like even pasta has benefit. There are the carbohydrates in grains and whatnot actually help you digest better, because they're slower acting than just popping the sugar cube kind of thing. So we stay away from added sugar. We minimize the amount of empty calories. And in my opinion, in my lifestyle, empty calories is my favorite vice, which is bourbon. That's an empty calorie. Alcohol is an empty calorie, but once in a while is not a bad thing. And really, lots of color. Lots of different texture, and lots of different groups. I think that one of the myths that's come about in my lifetime, you're a little bit younger than I am, but the big thing we grew up with was this whole food pyramid thing from the government, and that was really based on some information that turns out not to be very accurate. And so the food pyramid, while an interesting tool, isn't really ideal nutrition. And so it's really more of just health. I'll stop using the word healthy. Natural, unprocessed, or minimally processed, wide variety of food can't be bad for you.
Correct. And I don't know if you experienced this, but people thinking low fat or fat free is the way to go. And we went through a huge fad of that years ago. And what I try to make them realize, the good fats are okay, and when you read the labels of things where the fats have been stripped, they've got extra sodium and extra sugars and things added to keep that consistency and flavor in there. So if you're going to do things that are high fat, go ahead and take the whole fat option.
And fats are important.
Fats are important.
Your brain is mostly fat, and if you deprive the body of good fats, things like monounsaturated oils, avocado, nuts, tree nuts, you deprive your neurological system of development and health, and that's not good.
It's not good.
The other thing when we grew up was eggs are bad, eggs are bad, eggs are bad. Actually, eggs are probably some of the best protein you can get, right?
Absolutely.
And they don't cause your cholesterol to go way up. Now, if you have high cholesterol, you shouldn't eat tons of cholesterol containing foods such as egg yolks, but eggs are good for you. They're not bad for you. So in my lifetime, almost 60 years, the nutritional science has gone all over the place, and it's really only kind of over the last decade or so really finding more of a based in science approach.
Right. And that's why it's important for trainers to really follow the continuing education, because there are so many studies that come out on a regular basis that it's difficult to keep up with, and they're constantly changing. So
yeah, a lot of those things, the food pyramid and the eggs are bad, came out of the food industry. So lobbyists for heart disease medications and cardiologists sold the cardiologist on that. milk is everything came from the dairy thing, and so be a little bit beware of where the information is coming from. Again, if it comes from nature, it's by and large not going to be bad for you.
Right.
Right?
Pretty much.
What else? I'm kind of simplifying stuff.
No, that's okay. And I think the next thing we should probably talk about while we're on the topic of food is portion control. I have a lot of people that have an issue. They don't like leftovers and they don't want to be wasteful. There was a report that came out from the National Institute of Health that since 1970, depending on the food or beverage, they have gone up in portion sizes have gone up for anywhere from 10 to over 700%, and that's just astronomical.
Yeah.
We all know that overeating, it can cause your stomach to expand beyond its normal size. It puts extra pressure and stress on the other organs around it, makes your heart work harder, causes excess weight gain and fat storage, keeps our body kind of in a state of inflammation that really leads to cancers, diabetes, heart disease, and many other illnesses. So I like to tell people when they're, I don't want to be wasteful. I'm like, well, if the portions are so large, it's wasteful whether you put it in your body or in the trash can. So where do you want that waste to go? And then they're like, oh, okay, yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, that makes tons of sense. I mean, in the United States, unfortunately, we waste so much food, whether it's because it's not pretty and throw it away, or whether it's, we make too much and toss it away. That's really unfortunate. Learn to like leftovers.
Like leftovers.
What's wrong with that? In fact, my mom growing up, so I grew up with a single mom, and she always used the term planned overs, because she planned to make more because we would then use it again in another meal. And so that's how I grew up.
I like that.
Leftovers, no way, man. These are planned overs. And it made a big difference how I got to see food, particularly on a budget, but got to see food. I mean, I was fortunate in that my mother was very interested in food and cooking and good nutrition, even though the nutritional science really wasn't out there. But I ate well even back then. We never had fast food type stuff.
Right.
And that's a problem, which is, that's a whole other topic. We'll talk about that another time. But there's a whole science of fast foods that's designed to mess with your brain's chemistry to keep you eating it, whether that's intentional or not. It's just like, don't get mad at me, Mr. Zuckerberg. It's just like Facebook. There are chemicals that are stimulated in your brain that keep you engaged with social media. Food does the same thing. Just like cocaine and heroin as well. I mean, it's all brain chemistry.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I'm notorious for all my friends will tell you.
Cheetos, the orange stuff in Cheetos. Sorry, Cheetos, non-trademark. Yeah.
If I go out to eat, I'm one of those people who usually ask for the box and box half of it up ahead of time.
Awesome.
So that, I'm going to eat the leftovers. I love leftovers, but and that really helps, because even if you don't eat the whole plate, you're going to eat more than you would if the whole plate hadn't been sitting there, just because it's there. So
that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point, because our tendency is, even if we're just sitting there talking, is just finish it off.
Right.
Your mother trained you to clean your plate.
Yeah, make a happy plate.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
they did a study years ago where they had a bowl of soup and there was a tube going through the bottom, and they had people in there who would continue eating the soup and they would constantly fill it up. They didn't pay attention to whether they were full or not. They just kept eating because the bowl was still looked full to them.
Right, interesting.
And so, those kind of things really make you think about, am I really hungry? And that's the other side of it. People eat so rapidly, and it takes your body about 20 minutes to feel fullness and satiated. And so by the time you get to that point, it's too late. You're already stuffed, And to me, that's one of the worst feelings ever, to be stuffed.
Right. So any other major myths or fallacies or things you'd like to throw out there before we wrap it up?
Okay, this is more about personal trainers, but
yes.
It's you've probably all seen this meme. It's the Cookie Monster, where he's eating all the cookies and says, my trainer's responsible for my weight gain. I haven't lost any weight. It's my trainer's fault. He's like shoving the cookies in his mouth. And so what I always tell people, we're here to guide you, whether you see us once a week, 5 times a week, once a month. We're here to give you guidance. What you do outside of our sessions are so important. Like I said, your non-active lifestyle, if you're someone who sits at home in the evenings and binge watches television, get up and go for a walk instead, because those things are going to make the difference in the end. And I always tell people, I'm not going to take responsibility for your failure, but I'm also not going to take credit for your success, because you did that on your own outside of our sessions. So,
yeah, I think that's a really good kind of place to end this, because, again, as we've talked in other episodes, the number one thing your body wants is movement. The best thing you can do for your body is to just stay moving. It doesn't mean you have to run a marathon, right?
of course.
Stay moving. Once we become sedentary, and we're already forced to be sedentary by modern society, once we start becoming more and more sedentary, it's harder to get up and your body declines. And so what we do, Father Time always wins.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do is make that pushback as strong as possible to finish strong rather than finish weak and debilitated. So
Absolutely.
I think that's a good point. That's a good point. So do me a favor, tell us briefly kind of how we engage you, anybody out there could engage you in their lifestyle with respect to TOA.
So you can get on TOA's website and go to the sports performance page, and there's a phone number and email address, and you can contact us and just reach out and then let us know what your interests are, whether it be if you're an athlete or a musician, a child, an adult, no matter your age or fitness level, we have a program we can put together for you. So
Awesome. And you are both working with our Sports Performance Center in Franklin and the new one in Lebanon. Yes, awesome. Any plans to expand into other areas at this point?
So we're talking about the Murfreesboro location
Excellent.
as well. So
Excellent.
yeah, we're excited, and then possibly the Clarksville. So
Excellent. Okay.
yeah, I'm excited about it.
Yeah, so these are all yet to be determined, but it's an exciting new phase of TOA's slate of offerings for people. We don't just do surgery, and it's never been our mission to just do surgery. What we want to do is take care of people's musculoskeletal health, whether that's surgical or non-surgical. And really, musculoskeletal health, you can't discount just fitness, activity, nutrition, and whatnot, because it's all going in there. And so, thanks. I appreciate you being
Thank
here.
you.
If you'd like to come back, I'd love to have you back.
Okay.
We can talk some other topics. See if you have any good kind of case reports that you'd like to discuss. We'd love to. But I think we'll wind it up today. Thanks again for being here. Next week, I don't have a guest, but I think what we're going to do is continue the Spine 101 conversation. Our first visit was talking about spine fusion, why we do spine fusion. And I promised you we would do a topic a little bit more in depth about the biological side of spine fusion. So we're going to talk about biologics, bone graft, and things that we have to offer people in surgery to improve the chance of getting a good outcome with spine fusion surgery or fracture repair type surgery. Anyway, that's it for today. Go to TOA.com. You can learn about Anita and her programs. You can learn about me and what I do for a living. We have a great media center filled with video clips talking about all kinds of topics. The old Facebook Live shows are archived there. We have some other pro tips and tricks from Les and others. Have you done any of those yet?
Yes.
Okay, good. From a lot of the docs too. So go there, the media center, TOA.com. And we'll see you next week, noon, Friday, Central Time, Facebook Live. The doctor's in. We'll be in the house. We'll talk about biologics in spine surgery and orthopedic surgery. Go out there, live your best life. Get vaccinated. We'll see you next time.